Is stakeholder engagement a term invented to inflate the self-importance of corporate higher-ups, or is it actually a technique employed to influence and, dare I say, manipulate people of power and influence? Let's find out. In this video, we'll be understanding why stakeholder engagement and the management of this group is so important in terms of project success. The topics we'll examine today are defining stakeholders, stakeholder management, stakeholder identification, stakeholder analysis, planning, and finally, engagement. If you enjoy this video or find it helpful, please like, comment, share, and subscribe as it helps to grow the channel and to provide new content. The APM defines stakeholders as individuals or groups who have an interest or role in the project, program, or portfolio. Internal or external, you can make a case that anyone who is either involved or affected by a body of work is a stakeholder. There are different types of stakeholders with varying levels of importance and influence, and it's critical that this context forms part of any communication you might have because, in short, stakeholders can be the difference between a project succeeding and going absolutely nowhere. The point of engaging stakeholders is to provide them with awareness and to get them on side, which has a considerable number of benefits. It can prevent them becoming obstacles and thereby causing delays. They can become supporters of the project and become highly engaged. They bring value to the project, diversifying the existing pool of knowledge and abilities. You can develop relationships early on, and it generally makes them more amenable to change, i.e., if you need to reset their expectations at any point, and it increases the likelihood of the project outputs being accepted. Stakeholder management is defined by the APM as the systematic process of identification, analysis, planning, and implementation of actions designed to engage with stakeholders. What is actually meant by this is that the APM have developed a best practice framework for project managers to operate within in order to exert maximum influence whatever the situation may be. Let's take a look at each stage. So the first stage is to identify any and all key players that you think should be communicated or consulted with during the course of your plan. These will typically either be people that are working on the project, the recipients of the output, or people affected by the output, positively or negatively. There are various ways to accomplish this, be it via brainstorming or perhaps consulting a stakeholder list from a similar previous project. Now you need to understand each stakeholder's level of interest and power in relation to the project. This will enable you to develop a strategy on how to approach them in order to elicit the desired response. Questions you can ask yourself are, how will they be affected by the project? Are they likely to be supportive, negative, or ambivalent? What are their expectations? How can I influence their opinion of the project? For example, imagine you have a stakeholder that is likely to object to your proposed project. You can plan how to approach this stakeholder in a manner that addresses their likely concerns, demonstrating your awareness, and also options to mitigate whatever those concerns might be. Through these initial dialogues, you can learn how a stakeholder prefers to be engaged with and how to use that to your advantage. Now that we understand our stakeholders' views, attitudes, and influence, we're in a position to develop a plan to manage our stakeholders and the communication that we have with them. This is known as a communication plan, and it looks like this. The plan shows all stakeholders, internal or external, and should be created and maintained by the project manager. It details each stakeholder, what messages they should receive, how they should receive our contact, when and why. The key benefits of a communication plan are consistency, so it enables tailoring communication to suit the needs of each individual stakeholder. The plan should be based on their needs and preferences, which will facilitate engagement. So for example, a client may prefer a personal phone call to give them an update, while the quality manager may prefer a detailed written report. Another benefit is efficiency. Determining which channels are used, for example, email or phone calls, and how you will use them will streamline project communication management across your team. For example, noting how to access shared files to cut down on email requests for information later on. The third is confidence. So the fact that you are supplying stakeholders with information in ways tailored to their needs via the same channels in consistent formats and timescales only breeds confidence in you and your project. And lastly is effectiveness. So getting a message to the right person at the right time in the right way means that it's more likely to be received, understood, and acted upon. An example is getting updated technical data to a supplier in time for them to stay on schedule, for example. So with the plan complete, we can now implement the communication plan and apply an appropriate strategy depending on each stakeholder's role in the project. So there are 4 categories. First we're going to talk about is high power and high interest stakeholders. This group will champion your project until the cows come home and are also the people with the power to make key decisions. You should fully engage with these people, making the greatest effort possible to manage their expectations and to keep them satisfied. Next is low power, high interest. You need to keep these people adequately informed and talk to them to ensure that no major issues are arising. They are typically the end user of whatever the project is going to produce, and therefore they can be really helpful when it comes to the granular details. Third is low power, low interest. You should keep these people on your radar, but don't pepper them with excessive communication. Generally speaking, they only need the headlines and not the details. Now, lastly, we have high power, low interest. And whilst this group do hold little interest in your project, they do need to be kept in the loop because they yield power. If they aren't engaged, they could end up using their power in a manner which could inadvertently cause delays to your project, hence the need to keep them informed. If you enjoyed this video, again, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. I would love to hear about any examples of good or bad communication that you have either been part of or received. Until next time.